Hello, welcome back to yet another Table Talk with Ellie. I am Ellie, this is Rodney. We have not changed, but yet again, the guests mysteriously have. Who knew? Right now, I get to sit with some of the women behind the scenes. We got to talk to Hannah, and I love that aspect of it as well. Just getting to chat with some women developers and company leads is amazing. So this is Andrea. This is Jen. I'm going to let them tell you a little bit more about who they are, how they're connected to DBSI Entertainment, what they do here, etc. Let's get started. First of all, who are you? How long have you been here? What do you do? And what's your favorite color?
Awesome. So I am Andrea Thermopolis. I started out with DBSI Entertainment back in January of 2017. I started out as a live streamer. I used to live stream from my PS4 because streaming and online gaming was still fairly new. But then as time went on, I became COO of the company, of DBSI Entertainment. And then fast forward a few years to 2020, I was the co-founder of Before the Storm, and then became one of the lead developers for Dreamfire Games, as well as Before the Storm, DBSI Entertainment, the whole family of this company, based on wearing multiple hats. So I'm COO, but developing music, pretty much everything. A lot of us in the company do a lot in the company.
It's true.
We're not just a solo track to one thing.
Yeah.
But my favorite color. So this is a color wheel. So blue is my favorite color.
Yes!
But
Somebody gave the correct answer. Sorry, continue.
Yes. But with purple as a close second. Like blue is here, and then
fair.
purple skyrocketed recently. So it's like there's blue, and then purple's like right below it.
I will point out that purple has blue in it, so you're forgiven.
Well, thank you. My liege, yes.
When the COO calls you their liege. Hey. It's a good feeling. All right, what about you, Jen? Who are you? How long have you been with DBSI Entertainment? What do you do with DBSI Entertainment? And what is your favorite color?
Well, I have been with DBSI Entertainment for roughly 5 years, a little over that. Pretty much since it started, it was about a month after, I get a message from Billy asking, hey, I have this little company and it's just started and I'd like for you to maybe join on if you're interested. Because at the time I was also live streaming, much like Andrea here. And so starting off as a live streamer, then as the change has happened in the company, eventually rising to the role of Chief Creative Officer in DBSI Entertainment, as well as now the Executive Director of Before the Storm. So just a nutshell of what that is. So as far as how long I've been in the company, 5 years of that, and then since the inception of Before the Storm, since the beginning of that as well, and you also being a founder of that as well. As far as what I do in the company, so just touching on that with the Chief Creative Officer, mostly overseeing the creative process and just projects that are going on, just making sure that things are on schedule and on task, as well as, again, the many hats, creating different art in the games as well, and just other things that are used for that are using the art as well, such as album artworks and just kind of whatever's needed for art. In addition to that, also working hands-on within the Unity engine to sort of build out the map and add, if you see a couch in a hallway, chances are it might have been added by me or by one of our other developers as well, such as Andrea. And as far as my favorite color, that would also be blue. Specifically, though, turquoise blue, because I love it. It's a nice color.
This is a good group, guys. Y'all both answered that answer correctly.
Company favorites.
Favoritism. HR? No, I'm kidding. We have a lot of fun here, obviously, at DBSI Entertainment. I love what you said about everybody wearing, doing different jobs, having different hats. We've talked about that at both of the table talks so far. It's just about how many opportunities there are. Base level, that's kind of what it starts with, is we get to play to our strengths, even sometimes when we don't know what those strengths are. We're permitted to just kind of run with it and create and do things. We've got 7 projects in the works that we were able to showcase at E3. Still can't get over that. It's fine. But some of them are they're all just incredible. We're all working really hard on them in different ways from different perspectives, whether it's music, streaming, creativity, developing, all of that jazz. So there's one game in particular, I think that's probably our most ambitious project. It's something that I am personally very, very deeply invested in for multiple reasons that we're going to get into a little bit. But we talked in depth last table talk about Pseudo Dragons, something we're all very proud of, all very excited about. But this particular table talk, I want to focus in and kind of narrow down onto Doomsday. Oh. So Doomsday is chapter 2 of the Reverie trilogy.
Yes.
Trilogy. Just throwing that word in there.
Yeah.
Woken is chapter 1. Doomsday is chapter 2. Both are in development right now. We are very proud of what's going on with Awoken. It's still being worked on constantly. But also as we're preparing to release that one, we're also looking forward to this chapter 2. And chapter 2 is going to be very different than chapter 1 for many, many ways. And it's going to be more, like I said, it's just more ambitious. So can you guys kind of dive into what that means for us as developers, as producers, as a gaming company before the storm? Go for it.
So with Doomsday, one of the main things that we wanted to achieve in Doomsday is to have a wide variety of just a large cast of characters. So the various people that you play as from all different ethnicities and just nationalities, we wanted to really get a good representation of certain people groups as well, including actually a deaf person as well as their partner to be their interpreter, which I'm sure Andrew will go a little bit more into detail on that. That is a passion of hers. But aside from that, it's going to have a lot of emphasis on the different choices that you can make. Because if you're with a group of people, whether you know them or not, how you interact with them is ultimately going to shape your experience with them. And in Doomsday, being for those who don't know, Doomsday is set in a post-apocalyptic world where a large cataclysm it happened, and now there are only roughly 200 survivors left on the planet. So with that, you band together with a group of just really a few people, and again, how you interact with them will really shape the course of the story. Whether you are nice to them, if you're mean to them, if you totally ignore them, that will ultimately shape how the rest of the game is going to play out, and there's going to be a myriad of dialogue options that will give you many different endings. There's a lot that we have in store as far as graphically. It's going to use a lot of really high-end tech to make it look absolutely gorgeous. There's just a lot going into it, and as I said, it is incredibly ambitious, but it's something that we really have a passion for and that we want to achieve. So ultimately, very, very exciting.
Yeah, so just kind of the little bit that you've talked about it. When we talk about ambition, we're talking about visual ambition. So you guys saw the trailer for that. That's all in-game footage. When we're talking about ambition, we're talking about this being a character-driven story to the utmost. As many decisions as you can make, as many realistic responses to said decisions as there can be, and as diverse of a cast as we can. And I want to talk a little bit more about that, because that's actually a shared passion that I have with Andrea, where both of us have at some point in time studied American Sign Language.
Yes.
And so with that study in creating art, we want to make sure that not only is this deaf character in there and represented, but we are, when the time comes, committed to making this realistic, to consulting with the deaf community, to bringing in a deaf actor, to make sure that the language is accurate, and we're working again with that visual photorealistic sense of it. We're going to have signs in game. When I talk about ambition for a project, that's definitely part of it, because we're aware of the challenge that we're up against with this. But the excitement behind it and the passion behind it is so in-depth. We could not be more proud of what we've already started to build and what's just continuing on from there. But can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I got brought in to this particular project a little bit later, and I'm so excited. But yeah, you kind of were part of that, being part of the game to begin with. So yeah, please just tell me more about your history with the deaf community, what you want to see in this, what you want to accomplish with this. Yeah.
Awesome. So, I'm going to start back a few years when I first started learning American Sign Language. I learned it at a local college around here, where we're located. And at first, going to different classes, my instructors would ask the entire class, why are you learning American Sign Language? Is it because you have a deaf family member? Is it friends that are deaf? Or do you want to be an interpreter? And I'm like, at the time, I'm like, well, no to the first two. And I don't know if I want to be an interpreter, because I would be anxious interpreting on stage in front of millions of people. So I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily what I want to do, but I still want to be involved in the deaf community, deaf culture, in the deaf world, even though interpreting may not be right for me. So then, probably about halfway through the series of classes I took, I'm like, well, wait, what if one day I can join an entertainment company and maybe, or just build my own game. I did make a small game of my own, but it's staying aside. It can isolate itself over there. But I started learning how to make games on my own very briefly, and I'm like, well, what if I included American Sign Language into that? And then a little bit later, a PlayStation game released, and it included American Sign Language. It was not in depth or to the level I was hoping it was going to be, but I'm like, okay, so the idea is out there. What if I can contribute or somehow make it more than that? And then I joined DBS Entertainment, and I'm like, okay, here we go. So I can see the plans are starting to come together. I can see something like this happening. And then Billy and I had gone to E3 2018 in person, and I got to meet some of the kids from the deaf community there, talking about Nintendo and different parts of the convention out there. And then he and I both had the idea, include American Sign Language in Doomsday, but make it to the point where it's a realistic experience.
Yes.
So how the deaf community is treated in real life, and it'll be a morale wake up for the world, hopefully.
Yeah.
And it'll be inclusive for not just the deaf community, but for all cultures and ethnicities. But this part in particular is a focus on the deaf community in American Sign Language, and it being recognized as a language in itself. And I'm honestly trying not to cry.
I feel that.
It's like it's been a passion of mine since I learned American, during that point in when I started learning American Sign Language. But then talking about it now, and then sitting here, I'm like, wait, this is more. Now that I'm actually talking about it out loud, besides just small development management meetings, talking about it publicly, it's like, oh, okay, this is happening. We're going to do this. It's going to be full American Sign Language in Doomsday. And it's not just going to be from what I learned as a student, from what you learned as a student. I'm going to reach out to my instructors, so heads up. If you're watching this, because you're going to be getting a message from me and the company very soon. And some of my friends too. I've mentioned it to a couple of my friends, so get ready for more. But yeah,
I've been
happening.
sitting on this since I knew about it and not able to talk to people. And then I had a friend recently. I was chatting about this opportunity coming to E3, how excited I was for all of this. And she goes, I know that this is a passion of yours, and I've seen you, in the deaf community and what you do, what you love. Wouldn't it be so cool if you had to be involved in a video game with sign language? And I was like, it would be so cool. If that ever were to happen, that would be cool. And I wanted so badly to be like, you don't even know. So yeah, I definitely, yes, 100% with you on that. We went to the same program. We were part of, I think, slightly different times. There was a little bit of overlap there.
There was, yeah. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah,
Hey.
it's like see each other on campus sometimes. Going. Yeah, so it's definitely something that, and I kind of had a similar experience where I started the program, and it's like, okay, I didn't know any deaf people when I began, but you meet them very quickly. You meet this community, and it's such a beautifully hearted community, and yeah, you get more and more involved, and you get to know more. And then about halfway through, I was like, I don't think I can interpret. I don't think that's my future. But I want to finish this program so I can just have this knowledge. And I've been able to use it little pieces here and there, and I've always loved that. But this opportunity is something so much bigger and so much more ambitious, because we have seen it introduced into media more and more, which I am loving, but there's typically limitations. And we are going to do our utmost with the understanding that we're still hearing and we have limitations. But we're going to do our utmost, bringing in deaf advisors, deaf actors, we're serious about all of that. So we want to do this thoroughly, and we want to do this right, and we want to honor the deaf community, and that's, as mentioned, kind of just one of many diverse factors that we're introducing into this game, but it's one that I definitely wanted to talk about because I'm personally invested in. We're very, very passionate about it, and we're working to make it the absolute best that it can be. So yeah, there's so much that we're doing with Doomsday.
Yes, it is so exciting. I'm almost shaking from the excitement. I know, right? Talking about it is just really kind of hyping it back up again.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, that's right. We're
doing it.
We're doing this. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And again, accuracy is really, really important to us here as well. Just we want to get full mocap, so that way everything is very accurate, just to even the tiniest little details.
Exactly.
Yes, and I still have a lot to learn for American Sign Language. I'm trying to learn. However, it's a little slow going. But yeah, it's just, this game is so exciting for us. I can't wait.
The opportunities that we've been given to be here at E3 right now, to be presenting Doomsday, to have given you guys a trailer, and now we're going to take a deeper look. So you guys are going to get to see more, and we're just, the level of excitement is through the roof here. So we're working towards making it the best that it can be. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back with you. And you're going to see an inside look at Doomsday. We could not be more proud. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Right now it's an inverted controller, and the current tester's not accustomed to that, so patience on that. But other than that, everything's kosher.
Start over. Restart intro.
And we're back. Table Talks with Ellie. We're looking inside Doomsday right now. So when I said we're going to do an inside look, I meant that quite literally. We're now in the game of Doomsday. So that trailer you saw, that cinematic footage, was not a cinematic trailer. It was all captured in-game within our engine, what we've built. And so right now, we've got it up on our screen so we can kind of see and tell you what's going on as well. Just a heads up. Our tester's using inverted controls right now. It was set up that way, but the person who's currently running the testing isn't accustomed to it, so bear with us on that. Yes. But yeah, so this is live footage of gameplay in Doomsday right now. You can see the controls happening on one end. We've got is it the shotgun that he's working with right now?
Yes. Yeah, the shotgun. So when you start playing the game, the full version of it, you will have the option to change out of inverted controls or regular controls if you prefer one over the other. Right now it just is.
Whoa! Can I just point out real quick? The shotgun had proper bucks, like the spray.
The spray shots.
Mm-hmm. What? Okay, sorry, I haven't seen the shooting myself yet, so that was fun. Continue.
Well, it's good. Carry on.
Just there'll also be more weapon options besides the shotgun. Right now, this is the only one he found.
Can we just take a second? Like, look at the ground as he's looking around. Look at the detail in the trees. Like I said, that trailer that we sent, the water movement, all of that was captured in-game. And of course, we made it look as best as we can, but it was not cinematic. It was not done separately. It was not done through other software. It was all shot from within this engine.
So it was a mix of this first-person camera. So this player is set up as a first-person camera, first-person controller. Mm-hmm. Before in the trailer, we had two different camera setups. We had the first-person perspective that you see right here, and then we also have it. There's a different names you could say it in the Unity engine. Mm-hmm. Flyby camera, free camera. So that's also what we had. So we had a mix of those two in that trailer. Right now, we're only going to show first-person perspective, mm-hmm. which is what our tester is playing as. Now
he found a new weapon.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, just the water bottle is because somebody redeemed Hydrate, so we listen.
Yes.
One of us is continuing to listen while the rest of us rebel.
And I gotta say, this is something that we are really, really proud of. You just look at just the lighting, the way that the reflection is on the water and
within the little puddles, something
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Through the trees, how there's like a bit of fog off in the distance as well to kind of add to that thicker atmosphere as
you
well.
You can see the wind moving the leaves there.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the sun that you had mentioned, the sun shining through the sun shafts, that also has to do with ray tracing. So we are going to have realistic ray tracing in the entire game. It is going to be in 4K realistic. It's going to be
Yes.
This one is in 4K. It's also currently happening with.
I'm so sorry about those inverted controls again.
Also, like, if you can't tell, this is live. We're seeing this. I'm seeing this portion. I'm not a developer, so I haven't seen this much of it in-game yet. So yeah, legitimately just commenting on what I see. I know that we've been working really, really hard on this. I'm kind of more familiar with the story end and what we plan to do with that once the characters are being placed in it and built into that. Once we start filming, mocap and all that, that's more my cup of tea. But just looking at this right now, you can see each individual shot there. You can see
that accuracy, though.
I know.
Yes, even with inverted controls.
Dead aim.
I know. Even with the inverted controls.
So in addition to the ray tracing, we do also have what's called a high definition render pipeline mm-hmm. within the Unity engine, which gives that so you're actually perfect. You can see the lighting reflection on the puddles right there. Yes, thank you. And then you'll just how the water detail looks with the moss and the algae and the greenness on top of the surface of the water, how it's reflecting from the sun and how it looks like a realistic foliage.
Sorry, the leaves are just floating down and I freaked out a little bit. That was really cool.
The dust in the air.
Yeah.
Those particles.
Yes, I love it.
It's beautiful. It's just mind-boggling visuals in this game. Like I said, I've only seen kind of more of the trailer options as well, but like I did know that this was all in-game footage, but just to be able to walk around open world, see this detail consistently throughout the entire thing, it's really, really cool. Like you can see the rocks and the moisture on the rocks in the lake. Like this is insane. The moss and the algae. Our developers are, again, going back to the fact that this is an ambitious project. We're pouring so much into this, and we're really, really proud of what we're putting together.
Here we have some of our people that are going to be featured, which
She's just
there
chilling.
she is.
Chilling on a stump.
Yep.
We're going to take a weapon.
Her life. And I can actually kind of picture it with the environment as well. Doing the whole, I hate to say it, but like the fake social media posts where you say you're at one location, but you're really not. Some people do that. Just send like a screenshot within the game saying, "Oh yeah, I went hiking on this beautiful trail earlier today," and it's actually just this.
Would totally do that. Mm-hmm. Just like take a selfie in character. Be like, just a little hike.
Exactly.
And you notice how the gun. So now that he's zooming into the gun, but the gun blurs as he's zooming into the character that's sitting on the stump. But you see how the gun blurs because in real life, if you focus on something, it blurs your direct like.
You're focusing on the farther object, not at the object that is in your hand.
Thank you for Englishing that.
You're welcome.
That's really cool.
Developers speak to English speak. Yeah, and as this gets farther along in development, because of course right now we are still focusing primarily on Chapter 1 of Reverie, which is Awoken. So for now we're really just kind of laying down the groundwork or the foundation, yes, for what is Doomsday, which is Chapter 2. So of course once we are done working on Awoken, that's when we can kind of go more full steam ahead into this.
Into Doomsday, yeah.
That way everything can kind of be perfected, more fleshed out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
I'm just looking at like the little things, like the grain of the wood, and I love that they zoomed in when I said that.
Yes, perfect timing, delayed timing.
Right? But yeah, the grain of the wood, the bark on the trees, the leaves, and everything like that. Again, having that outside perspective, I think I mentioned that on an earlier table talk of I'm brand new to the world of gaming. I had very little concept that something like this was even really possible in a gaming world. And I know we're not the first to do kind of photorealistic, like things like this. We're not the first to bring this into play, and we're still building it to be bigger and better. As you had mentioned, this is the beginning. This is just the groundwork for this game. But I didn't even know, like, I didn't have a concept of a game that looks like this. So this is an extremely, extremely early build, just the groundwork, just the foundations. We've got many other environments that we're working on. This is going to be 6-player co-op. And we're gonna...
And kind of, again, going into that co-op part of it is that not only as a single player during just like a normal run-through of the story, again, all of your dialogue options and your actions and inactions will help shape the story, but we're also adding a co-op mode where you can play with your friends. Kind of touching on that, so everyone will be playing their own dedicated player throughout the story, dedicated character rather. And those different people, as they play as the different characters, will get certain objectives to complete, which might help out the team as a whole, or it might be something that's a bit more for themselves as their own character. So you're going to have to weigh the options of your consequences that will happen from, again, those different choices. They will get different points, if you will, for completing those different objectives, and just based on how they play, again, to kind of shape the whole narrative going forward in that story. So really no two playthroughs will be exactly the same unless you were to do everything exactly the same down to the letter, but chances are you're going to be making different decisions on subsequent playthroughs as well.
Especially, I mean, if you think about it too, just a 6-person playthrough where everybody's got their character, right? You play through the next time, just swap characters over.
Right.
And see how different that story is going to be.
Oh, yeah, it'll be totally different.
And then with those 6 players, like you play as someone else, and then you choose to act how you were, like how that you were originally to that AI, but now you're playing as them. So like, there's still infinite possibilities. Like, it's
Just about, yes.
it's like, wait, you have to behave the same way, but your character itself, because you're playing as someone else, the AI will treat you differently. So it's still not going to be an exact playthrough, even with the different character situations going on.
Yeah. And I think you both touched on this before, but part of what this game is doing is going to be touching on bias. It's going to be touching on
Stereotypes.
It's going to be touching on how people are treated by AI, by society. Not only are the decisions that you make as a character going to impact the story as you play through it, but the story, you'll realize as you play these different characters, you're going to be treated differently. Sometimes by other players, sometimes by the AI, but we really do want to make this a game that is not only just a phenomenal, beautiful experience, right? And not only just one that represents different cultures and different settings and diversity, but we want it to be a game that gets you thinking and gets you feeling and gets you just into that world and acknowledging that impact. I've talked on eSpot Live before about that impact, that how stories can really impact real life, because it just makes you think and you get the opportunity to actually experience what other people would experience. I think that's just very, very powerful.
Yes, absolutely. And again, we really want it to be accurate, an actual portrayal of how these different characters would interact with each other. And some of those interactions might surprise you.
Yeah.
And we want every character to be a fully fleshed out person. We want them to feel real. That's ultimately one of our biggest goals with this.
Yes.
And also one of our biggest challenges. But I genuinely think that we will rise to that challenge and meet it.
I agree. I'm gonna go back to the
Please do.
visuals.
Yes.
The visuals on this. I know even a lot of times like talking back and forth, I'm like, yes, this game is beautiful. So with this, as he walks by more plant life, and you see the algae on the rocks and the road itself with the leaves and the twigs on it, and the ferns. Like, so he's looking at the leaves on the road, the dirt, the rocks as he was walking by them. We use what's called photogrammetry, so it's hyper-realistic, so it's photorealistic, and that's why the world looks the way it does, like in conjunction with the Unity engine's HDRP, photogrammetry, and then how we build the lighting system and the particle system, all that coming together. This part of the world is absolutely beautiful, and the whole game is going to look exactly like this too. Even better than this, because this is still very early development.
Incredibly early.
But we're still working on we're still working on Awoken. This is dipping our toes into what will be the sequel. And so, yeah, we're very, very proud of what we're done. We're very, very excited for what we're doing with this. And we wanted to give you guys just a little bit more insight in the behind the scenes of building in general, of what we at DVSI Entertainment care about as a company, about what we're fighting to create, about what we're pouring everything into. So yeah, this has been a first inside in-game look at Doomsday. I really, really hope that you've enjoyed this. I have, because like I said, this is my first time seeing it like this, and I'm just blown away. I'm so excited for all of our games, but this one is just another tier, I feel like, of the types of things that we are capable of doing as independent creators from all different backgrounds ourselves, all being brought together by solely that unique goal of we're all creatives who didn't necessarily know that we had the ability to just go out and do this ourselves, if that makes sense. And the entertainment world is big, and we're a part of it, and we're just honored to be here.
Absolutely.
And we're just getting started.
We're just getting started. This is the beginning, and could not be more proud, could not be more excited about it. So
keep an eye out for us. Follow us to stay up to date on progress, because this isn't going to be the last look of Doomsday that you're going to see. We will be showing more as it gets further along in development, as well as all of the other games that we have in the pipeline.
Yes. So you've seen at E3 so far 7 games we're in development with. You've seen a little bit more into the behind the scenes, the creative process of how Pseudo Dragon was created, and now you've seen inside the in-world game of Doomsday. And that's what I have for you. This has been Table Talks with Ellie, with guests, the developers behind the scenes. I've gotten to chat with so many people here at DVSI Entertainment. Again, I could not be more honored to be a part of this community, a part of this family. So thank you. Rodney and I thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And this is only the beginning. So if you're tuning in to eSpot Live, I'll be back on Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's 6 p.m. if you're on the other coast. It's every Monday and Thursday. Thank you for being part of this E3 adventure with us.
Yes.
We'll see you soon.